The cover-up. It was Friday afternoon, around 4 p.m. in law enforcement. We use military time, so that's 16 hours. Fridays tend to wind down in government offices, and the Mason County Sheriff's Department was no different. After the shift change at 3 p.m., most of the staff had already left, taking advantage of some accumulated leave. My superior, Benito Ben Villanueva, had taken off at noon to enjoy a weekend getaway with his family. My name is Sean Patrick Quinn, Jr., known to most as Pat. I had recently taken on the role of sheriff here. This Friday marked the end of my first week in office. Earlier in the week, I had assigned Deputy Christopher Hayes, my day shift lieutenant, a significant task. Originally planned for earlier, I opted to have it done that afternoon. Lieutenants, among other responsibilities, serve legal documents as required. Having official documents served by the sheriff's office comes with a fee, which I found to be a worthy expense. I had entrusted Chris with delivering divorce papers to Clarissa, my soon-to-be ex-wife, that afternoon. So, I sat in my office, waiting to hear how it had gone. At just after 4 p.m., Lieutenant Hayes stormed into my office, visibly upset. "Next time you're ending a marriage, Pat, you can deliver the papers yourself," he exclaimed. I sensed the document delivery didn't go smoothly. "What happened?" I asked with a light-hearted tone. Chris pointed to his reddened cheek and ear. "Clarissa slapped me when I handed her the papers." "You're kidding." I was astonished. "I'm serious." I confirmed her identity, served the papers, and she lost it. Started yelling, crying, and ended with a powerful slap to my face, right on the ear. Chris explained, frustration clear in his voice. Laughing at the absurdity, I replied, "That's quite the story, Chris. I never expected serving papers could turn out like this. I apologize, I can't help but find humor in this," I explained, struggling to contain my laughter. It's not the altercation I find amusing, but rather the sheer ridiculousness of her reaction. Suddenly, a thought struck me. "Oh, my goodness. Tell me you had your lapel camera on during the incident. You had it recording, right?" "The lapel camera? Yes, I had it on. Why would you think I wouldn't?" "Oh, I see what you mean now," Chris realized. During the previous summer and fall, I had effectively taken on the role of acting sheriff, filling in for William Bud Roberts, who was no longer actively engaged in his duties. In addition to campaigning to officially replace Bud as sheriff, I was managing the daily operations of our department. One of the strategic decisions I made was to allocate funds from seized narcotics to equip every deputy with Wolfcam body cameras. These devices, attached to the uniform's shoulder lapel, captured high-quality video and audio, documenting various encounters. The cameras transmitted footage directly to an onboard recorder that also saved data from the dash cameras in the patrol cars. Departments that adopted this technology reported a significant decrease in complaints against officers, often related to allegations of harassment or excessive force. Many of these complaints were retracted after the video evidence was reviewed. The compact size of the cameras initially received mixed reactions from my deputies, some of whom were wary of feeling monitored. However, the footage had already validated the actions of several deputies in disputed incidents, leading to the withdrawal of those complaints. I was eager to view the footage, hoping it would provide substantial evidence to proceed with my plans to end my marriage on my terms, following my wife's infidelity. Chris transferred the video from his cruiser to my laptop. The footage began with him approaching my farmhouse, ringing the doorbell until Clarissa appeared, visibly surprised to see a deputy at her doorstep. "Is this Clarissa?" Chris questioned. "Oh, come on. You know I am. What's this about?" "Ma'am, I'm Deputy Lieutenant Chris Hayes," he explained, handing her the manila envelope. "Mrs. Quinn, you have been officially served." "Oh, my God. I can't believe this. I can't believe he would send one of his deputies to do this." "Good afternoon, ma'am," Chris said, turning to walk back to his cruiser. "Hey, wait." Clarissa half-shoved, half-punched Chris in the back. "I'm not done with you. Tell him he needs to be home for dinner. I won't accept this. He needs to come home so we can discuss this." "Ma'am, please calm down. I cannot allow you to assault me." Chris was struggling to remain composed. "Or what? What are you going to do? You're just a lowly deputy. You're nobody." "Ma'am, I must warn you. Please step back and calm down." "Oh, so now you're giving orders. Don't you dare tell me what to do. I am still the sheriff's wife, you jerk." She advanced on him, brandishing the manila envelope like a weapon. "Tell Patrick he better be home by 6. He shouldn't be visiting anyone else, especially not on the north side." "Ma'am, please, calm down now." Chris reached out, placing his hand on her shoulder to stop her advance. Instead, it propelled Clarissa into a rage. "Get your hands off me," she yelled, knocking his hand away. "Don't you touch me." And then, whack, Clarissa slapped Chris hard across his face. "And tell that jerk to come home now," she yelled, storming back into the house. "That was insane," I said, breaking into uncontrollable laughter. "But Chris, why didn't you arrest her right then and there?" "Honestly," Chris began, "I was too shocked to even think straight. I didn't know whether to arrest her or leave her for you to handle. So I came back to lay this mess at your feet." "Oh, no, 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 no. Absolutely not," I retorted. "You're going to go back there and arrest her for assaulting an officer. That's what you're going to do." "Are you kidding me, Pat?" You're really going to drag me into this mess. Look, you're already in it up to your neck. Plus, wouldn't you want some justice? Don't you think it would be satisfying to be the one to take her in? To process her? To take her picture? Basically, to teach her a lesson for hitting you. Chris paused and sighed. You do have a point, I'll admit that. But I'm not going alone. If she provokes me anymore, I might lose my cool and tase her. I don't want to tarnish my record, especially over the sheriff's spouse. And Pat, you do realize this is going to make the news, right? Don't worry about it. I've got it covered. And she can't stay here. Our jail is full. She'll have to be taken to Choctaw County tonight, and that's a 2-hour drive. That's not our concern. She's brought this upon herself. Now she has to deal with the consequences. Am I going with backup then? Chris inquired. Who's the lieutenant tonight? I asked. Angel Ryerson. Perfect. Get Angel and a deputy to join you. It'll make quite the statement. But won't this upset your kids, Pat? No, they're away for the weekend with their youth group, staying at a hotel with an indoor water park in the Twin Cities, having a blast at the Mall of America. They'll probably spend most of their time in the pool or at the amusement park. I heard they renamed it to something like Nickelodeon Universe, Chris mentioned, grabbing his hat. Maybe, but everyone I know still calls it Camp Snoopy. All right, Pat, time to go and arrest your wife, I suppose. Update. It goes without saying, Clarissa's arrest was anything but smooth, especially for her. She put up such a protest that she nearly faced an extra charge for resisting arrest. The scene was vividly captured. Lieutenant Angel Ryerson, despite her small stature at 5 feet 3 inches, managed to subdue Clarissa on our front porch. Meanwhile, Deputy Brad Lowe was busy handcuffing her and reciting her rights. Throughout this ordeal, Clarissa was visibly distraught, loudly protesting and threatening legal action against Brad, Angel, and Chris for wrongful arrest and excessive force. The entire incident was recorded in high-definition video with crystal-clear audio, capturing every outburst and tear. Including the footage of her being served with my legal documents made it undeniable that the deputies conducted themselves with complete professionalism. By 6:30 p.m., Clarissa had gone through the booking process at the Mason County Jail, complete with photographs and fingerprints. By 7 p.m., she was clad in the standard red and white striped jail attire, complemented by red shoes, visibly overwhelmed as she was escorted to the van heading to the Choctaw County Jail. Choctaw's facility, significantly larger than ours, was Clarissa's destination due to our jail's capacity issues, a problem I was committed to addressing as sheriff. With no magistrate available over the weekend, Clarissa was set to reflect on her actions in solitude for the next 72 hours. A call to Sheriff Garrett Mayers of Choctaw County secured a solitary cell for Clarissa, ensuring her safety and privacy. Her identity was concealed, even in the jail records, to protect her from any potential harm or recognition. Chris Hayes shared with me a photo of Clarissa's booking. It was a sobering image, showing a once vibrant woman now overshadowed by the gravity of her situation. Her expression bore the weight of her choices, mirroring the despair seen in countless similar photos throughout the history of our justice system. Clarissa never looked like someone who would be on the wrong side of the law, but her arrest photo somehow transformed her into the image of a troublemaker. Ironically, this picture, in its stark reality, aligned with the person she had become since her involvement with Bud Roberts. It's peculiar how a single photo can reveal that the difference between high society and its opposite is indeed very slight. I had planned to spend the majority of the weekend with my new fiancée, Shannon Sullivan, and her wonderful daughter, Bridget. However, after Clarissa's arrest, I needed to visit the farm to tend to the horses and manage some chores. I didn't arrive at Shannon's place until just after 19:30, coincidentally when Chris Hayes sent me the photo of Clarissa's arrest. Entering Shannon's quaint and welcoming home, I was met with the aroma of a homemade meal, sparking memories of my grandmother's cooking. Shannon and Bridget had just got back as well, since Shannon's nursing shift at Holy Family Medical Center ended at 19, after which she had picked up Bridget. Patrick, Bridget called out, running towards me from the kitchen. Hey, Bridget, I greeted, lifting her into a big hug. How are my two favorite girls? Great, I've been so excited to see you, Patrick. Do you want to see my bug collection? I'd love to, but collecting bugs in winter. We gathered them last fall. She giggled. Their teacher displayed the kids' collections at school and sent them home today, Shannon added, leaning in for a kiss. How's my handsome man? Feeling better now, I replied, smiling after the kiss. Rough day. I'll tell you about it after dinner. Sure, she said, her expression showing concern. Bridget spent the next while sharing stories about her bug collection and her school day, until Shannon served us a delicious meal of meatballs and mashed potatoes, impressing me with her ability to prepare such a comforting dinner quickly. Shannon has a knack for cooking, preparing 5 or 6 hearty meals during the weekend and storing them in the freezer. This way, she can easily warm them up during the week. Her organizational skills impressed me, making me wish I could manage the sheriff's office as effectively as she managed her home, confirming my belief that she was the right choice. After dinner, I assisted Shannon and Bridget in clearing the table and took on the task of washing the dishes, a small contribution for the wonderful meal. We then enjoyed a game of bonkers, Bridget's favorite. Later, it was bedtime for Bridget, and I read her The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. Once Bridget was tucked in, I rejoined Shannon in the living room. She was comfortably dressed in pajama pants and a Minnesota State sweatshirt, drinking juice. Not having wine tonight. No, love. I need to start early tomorrow for Mindy Sutherland, and my mom is coming to take Bridget to the ranch, she replied. I bet she'll enjoy that, I commented, to which Shannon offered me to have some wine if I wished. I didn't hesitate, pouring myself a glass of Shannon's peach Chardonnay. I'm not picky about wine, but I enjoyed the flavor of this one as I relaxed beside Shannon, easing the day's stress. Shannon noticed my relief and asked if everything was all right, given my earlier contentment. It was, until this afternoon, I responded, taking a sip of my wine. I then shared that I had initiated the divorce proceedings with Clarissa through Chris Hayes. Shannon's reaction was a mix of shock and excitement. Is it really happening? Are we finally going to be together? She asked, her emotions visible as she held my hand, her eyes welling with tears. Yes, we are, I responded, gripping her hand firmly. How did she react? She inquired. I exhaled heavily, closing my eyes. It was a complete disaster. In what way? What unfolded? You might not believe it if I tell you. Sean Patrick Quinn. You can't just start a tale like this and leave it hanging. That's unfair, she chided. All right, you have a point. My day shift lieutenant, Chris Hayes, had the papers to serve this afternoon. When he handed them to her, Clarissa just lost it. She was yelling, throwing insults, the whole lot. And then, I paused, heightening the suspense. She ended up slapping him right across his face. Shannon reacted with disbelief. Oh, my goodness. You can't be serious. I am serious. The look on Chris's face when he returned was one of total shock. And what occurred afterward? If you really want to know, I began teasingly. Stop keeping me in suspense. What happened next? I had Chris go back to the property with my evening shift lieutenant, Angel Ryerson, and another deputy, Brad Lowe. I ordered them to arrest Clarissa for assaulting a law enforcement officer. Shannon was astounded again. What were you thinking? What do you mean, what was I thinking? I replied, slightly surprised. Clarissa attacked one of my officers. She's not above the law. It was a clear case of aggression. I get that, but she's technically still your wife. Sure, she's made some terrible choices, but to arrest her, it's not about revenge for everything she, Bud, and Marion Lawson did. This was about her lashing out at my deputy in a bid to provoke me. No matter our personal feelings, there's no justification for her to assault one of my officers. I also needed to show Chris and my team that I don't condone any form of misconduct against or by them. I understand, I really do, Shannon said, trying to regain her composure. It's all just so overwhelming, and I'm struggling to process everything that's happening. I get it, darling, I do, I replied, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. So, what impact do you think this will have on us? She asked. Thinking it over, I responded, the way I see it, this might actually help Clarissa come to terms with the divorce. Perhaps this incident will open her eyes to the reality of our situation and pave the way for a peaceful separation. Shannon's expression turned to one of surprise. Oh, my goodness, Patrick, I don't want to seem unsympathetic. But did you have her arrested just to gain an advantage in your divorce? Absolutely not, I countered firmly, shaking my head. Put that idea out of your mind this instant. I would never stoop to such tactics. Clarissa's arrest was a legal matter. She violated the law by assaulting a deputy. That's the reason she's in jail right now. Of course, I'll do everything within my power to ensure she faces minimal legal consequences. But I won't deny that this situation could indirectly benefit our future together. If leveraging her arrest can facilitate a smoother divorce process, then I'm open to it. But let me be clear, I'm not using this to unjustly disadvantage Clarissa in the divorce. I simply want to encourage a rational approach to the proceedings, especially for the sake of the children. You're right, Patrick. I should have more faith in you. I apologize for doubting your intentions, Shannon said, leaning in to offer a consolatory kiss. There's no need for apologies, I assured her. I rely on you to keep me in check. It's clear how power can corrupt, as we've seen with Bud Roberts. I need you as my support. Shannon, with a playful smile, put down my wine glass. I might not know much about anchors, but I'd be very happy if we could retire for the evening and just be together. I burst into laughter. What was that you said, my love? Ugh, Patrick. I'm just trying to be a bit flirtatious, she retorted. Hey, I enjoy a bit of playful banter as much as anyone else, but you'll need to step up your game. Shannon then stood, slowly removing her Minnesota State Mankato sweatshirt and the light t-shirt beneath it. She knelt down in front of me, gently positioning my legs apart. Shannon held her hands to her chest, softly touching and slightly pinching her nipples. She leaned forward, brushing her chest against me, moving from my lap up to my neck, finishing with a kiss that was intensely passionate. So, Sheriff, she whispered after a breathtaking kiss, what's our next move? Oh, I'm all in, I replied as she took my hand, leading me to her bedroom. The next couple of hours were a whirlwind of excitement. Shannon had to leave for work early the next morning, but we shared a quick and passionate moment before she went. Thoughts of her lingered in my mind as she left without showering, carrying a hint of our night together. For most men, a little deodorant and fresh clothes suffice, and Shannon, with her effortless beauty, needed no makeup. I left shortly after Shannon's mother, Susan, arrived to take care of Bridget. I went back to the farm to do some chores and plan my day. My divorce attorney, Danielle Nichols, was known for her formidable reputation. I had secured her services before my wife Clarissa could, following an incident that made me certain of pursuing the divorce. Danielle was at her office over the weekend, eager to discuss the case, especially after Clarissa's recent mistake. Seeing Danielle's intense gaze, I felt fortunate she was representing me. Despite her attractive yet intimidating presence, she seemed as if she could be quite ruthless in her work. However, deep down I knew I would have been drawn to her if I were still single, simply because I often act on impulse and don't think things through as much as I should. Around 15 minutes into our meeting, my cell phone interrupted us. I glanced at the caller ID, Caroline Bennett, a name that perhaps shouldn't have been saved in my contacts, yet it was. "Hello, Caroline," I greeted as I answered. "Patrick, I'm so relieved to get through to you. What's happening with Clarissa? She called me this morning, panicking, saying she's been detained in Cherokee Flats and it was your doing." I turned to Danielle, excusing myself. "I need to handle this, just a moment, please." "I'm sorry. Don't worry about it," Danielle replied, standing up. "I'll head to the break room for a bit. Maybe they've got some coffee in there." With Danielle gone, I resumed the call. "Caroline, it's true. Clarissa is in Cherokee Flats. They didn't have space here in Red River Falls, so she was taken to another facility. Patrick, how could you be responsible for her being jailed?" "Caroline, I want to be clear, without jeopardizing our friendship. My actions were not vindictive. I proceeded with the divorce formally, involving the sheriff's department and covering all the fees, like any law-abiding citizen. My intention was to prevent any potential, unpleasant clash between Clarissa and me. However, Clarissa confronted one of my deputies aggressively, leading to her arrest after she assaulted the officer. But Patrick, that's not like Clarissa. Yes, she's impulsive, but she wouldn't intentionally harm a police officer. I can't accept that. Perhaps the deputy is exaggerating." "Caroline," I sighed, "the altercation was recorded on video. Videos and photos can be misleading, Patrick." "Generally, yes, but not in this case. Our deputies are equipped with body cameras that capture everything clearly. The footage of this incident leaves little room for doubt. You'll see what I mean when you watch it, Caroline." I could hear Caroline's muffled sobs over the phone. "Please, Patrick, if you value our friendship at all, promise me you'll do everything in your power to assist her. For her sake, and for my grandson's, please." "Caroline," I responded, "you have my full commitment that I'll help her in every way I can. I'll be meeting her soon and I promise you, I'll manage to get her released by Monday morning at the latest. I'm also quite hopeful that this weekend will be the last time she ever has to see the inside of a jail cell." "Thank you, Patrick. That means the world to me." "You're welcome, Caroline." "Oh, Patrick," she added. "Yes, Caroline." She hesitated. "Just remember, Patrick, you're very important to me. I'm aware there's someone new in your life. All I wish for is that she cares for you as I would if I had the chance. The way you deserve." I struggled for words. "I value your thoughts, Caroline. And you're very important to me as well. Goodbye, Patrick. We'll speak again soon. I'm looking forward to it." And then she ended the call. After I hung up, it took me a moment to regain my composure. Caroline's voice, even from miles away, brought back vivid memories of our intense moments together. Caroline Bennett, even in her mid-50 seconds, was remarkably attractive, with a presence and allure that many found captivating. There was an undeniable connection between us that I knew would linger. Having Shannon now was a blessing. Honestly, there were few others who could keep my attention the way Caroline did. There's something irresistible about someone with her confidence and allure. Caroline's boldness during a precarious moment in the barn left a lasting impression, one that was both risky and thrilling, given the near presence of my family. The audacity of her actions, and the way we casually continued with our day as if nothing had happened, marked a chapter of daring and unconventional experiences in my life. Shannon, on her side, enjoys exploring her own sensations and often shares these intimate moments with me, seeking a shared pleasure. I admit, I have a weakness for confident women who know their desires. My role, as I see it, is to fulfill and satisfy. And if satisfaction means meeting a woman's desires intimately, then I am more than willing to oblige. These were my thoughts as Danielle returned to her office, carrying 2 cups of steaming coffee, placing one before me on her desk. Danielle struck me as someone who could easily captivate me or any man, for that matter. She often described herself as happily divorced. Danielle's ex-husband, Karsten Brown, was a senior partner at the law firm where she worked. Their relationship had turned heads and fueled office gossip, especially since Karsten had left his previous wife for Danielle, leading to her rapid rise from associate to partner post their personal liaison. This saga was a prime topic for local gossip, proving the adage that in a small town, what you hear is often more intriguing than what you see. "Now, let's discuss how to deal with your wife," Danielle said, settling back into her chair. She believed my desire for a fair divorce was naive, confident that she could leverage Clarissa's legal troubles to my advantage. but I only wanted a straightforward divorce, aiming for an equal division of assets and shared custody of our sons. I wished for them to primarily live with me, allowing Clarissa generous visitation rights, maintaining a semblance of honor for her in our son's eyes, hoping it would ease the process. Danielle seemed to relish the thought of putting Clarissa under pressure. For me, it was about moving on with dignity for everyone involved. After leaving Danielle's office, I visited another lawyer in Elk Run Heights, a high-end neighborhood in Red River Falls, home to influential figures and luxurious properties. I arrived at the residence of Marion Lawson, the county attorney, unannounced. Marion, known for his discreet and questionable choices, was not expecting me, especially during a chilly January. Our shared secrets, particularly concerning his inappropriate interest, hung unspoken between us, a leverage I held but hoped never to use. I approached the grand brick residence and pressed the doorbell. Marion soon appeared, looking less than thrilled. "Great," he muttered, seeing me, just when I thought my weekend was going well. "Always a pleasure, Marion," I retorted, as he hesitated at the partially open door. "So, are you going to let me in or what?" "That depends. Do you have a valid reason?" he replied, skeptical. "I'm here on official business, that's for sure," I assured him. "Is this something I need to be concerned about?" he inquired. "Marion," I said, my tone sharpening, "everything I do somehow relates to you." Rolling his eyes, Marion finally let me inside. "The study's this way. And please, remove your shoes to avoid damaging the hardwood floors. They've just been refinished," he instructed. "Looks like we might be here for a while, then," I joked. "Don't even think about it. You won't be here long enough to catch a game, and every beer in the fridge is mine," he asserted. "No worries. My team's out of the running anyway," I remarked. "Pat, they were out of contention right after the preseason," he scoffed. "Why bother following them? Come on, don't be so hard on my team," I countered. "Do you really want me to answer that, Quinn?" he challenged. "Better not," I conceded. As we made our way to Marion's study, his wife Patty Jean noticed us from the spacious kitchen, where she was cooking something that smelled delicious, reminding me I hadn't eaten yet. "Hi, Sheriff. What's the occasion for your visit today?" Patty cheerfully called out from the kitchen. I was about to reply when Marion cut in. "He won't be here long, and we'll be in the study. We have some crucial matters to discuss, so please ensure we're not interrupted." Patty Jean seemed very disappointed by her husband's stern words. However, her mood lifted when I remarked, "It's always a pleasure to see you, Patty. Whatever you're cooking smells wonderful." "Thank you, Patrick. We should have you over for dinner soon. I'd definitely enjoy that. I'll bring my fiancé, some lighthearted jokes, and a hearty appetite," I responded, making her smile. Patty Jean laughed, but Marion quickly ushered me into his office, closing and locking the door behind us. "You know you're not really coming for dinner," he said, guiding me to a seat in front of his grand oak desk. "But Patty Jean just invited me, Marion." "It would be impolite to decline," I protested. Marion looked at me with frustration as he settled into his lavish chair. "Pat, did you come here to annoy me, or was there something you wanted to discuss?" "Just tell Patty to keep things simple. I enjoy basic meals," I replied. "Goodness, Pat. I like meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. It's the perfect comfort food, especially during the winter. I bet Patty makes it wonderfully, considering how well she cooks for you," I said with a laugh. "Pat, I'm serious. Last night, my deputies had to arrest my wife," I confessed suddenly. Lawson's mouth fell open in shock. "Yes, I am. She received divorce papers yesterday and then she assaulted one of my deputies," I explained. Lawson stared at me in disbelief. "You know, Pat, sometimes I think you don't make sense. How did someone like you become sheriff?" "I believe in justice, even if it concerns my own family," I stated firmly. "Nonsense. What happened? Did she just bump into him accidentally?" "Nope. She lost her temper, took it out on my deputy, and slapped him right across the face. We have the whole incident on video." Who what?" I was puzzled. "Which deputy was involved?" "Lieutenant Chris Hayes." "Oh, no," Lawson reacted with dismay, shaking his head. "That figures. If Hayes isn't causing trouble now, he will soon enough. He's probably getting an earful from his girlfriend as we speak." I shifted uncomfortably, ready to defend Chris and Tanya. "Actually, Lieutenant Hayes is quite capable, and his partner is not what you think. She's extremely intelligent, possibly the smartest in Mason County. Her only legal issue was a minor possession charge from Massachusetts." "You can't be serious. You allowed your deputy to marry her." "I've heard she's involved in selling illegal substances from her shop in the North End. There's no way her legitimate business covers her expenses." "Actually, Marion," I corrected him, "Tanya does repair and sell computers and vinyl records. She's also secured contracts as a network administrator and analyst for local businesses, earning high praise for her work. She's outperforming every other IT professional in Red River Falls. Pat, if I discover you're hiding any wrongdoing of hers, You'll do what?" I cut him off. "Remember, I'm aware of the questionable content on your home computer, Marion," I warned, hinting at the inappropriate material he possessed. Marion froze. After a tense pause, he said, "You're not here just to discuss Hayes and his partner. What do you want, Pat?" As I mentioned, my wife is incarcerated for assaulting Hayes. I'm asking you to delay any legal action until I say so. That decision is mine to make, Pat, not yours. No, certainly not. Do you need reminding of your questionable pastime? Come on, Pat, Lawson sighed. I'm the county attorney, for heaven's sake. At some point, you've got to let that go and allow me to do my job. I get that, but not yet. Just delay the legal actions until I say. If anyone inquires, which is unlikely, simply state that the investigation is ongoing and you'll issue a public statement once it's concluded. How are you planning to keep her situation under wraps? She's been discreetly booked into the Choctaw County Jail using a pseudonym. Garrett Mayers is on our side. He's monitoring the situation. Mayers, the sheriff of Choctaw County. Wasn't he involved in that unfortunate incident with a deceased person a few months back? Well, yes, he was, I admitted with reluctance. But to be fair, it happened during a terrible snowstorm in the remote west of his jurisdiction, and the visibility was next to none. The state patrol should have better indicated the location. I'm sure that explanation did wonders for the family's grief. I bet the undertaker who had to manage the aftermath wasn't too thrilled either. So, how long did he drag the body with his Tahoe before he noticed the situation? About 20 to 25 feet, I reckon. But we're getting off topic. Are you going to cooperate with me on this? All right, Lawson conceded, motioning dismissively and massaging his forehead. I'll refrain from initiating any legal proceedings. In fact, I'll act oblivious to the whole matter until late Monday or whenever you deem it time to press charges. I take it this is all part of your strategy in dealing with Clarissa's divorce. Not entirely. Well, maybe a bit, but only to ensure she consents to the divorce. And for the record, the conditions I'm suggesting are more than fair. I'm not trying to harm her. She is still the mother of my children, after all. Pat, Lawson interjected, pausing briefly. Can I ask you something personal? Why, Marion, are we heading into a heart-to-heart moment? Far from it, he chuckled. Too bad. Go ahead, then, I encouraged. What's going to happen to Clarissa after all this is settled? My eyes narrowed, and I felt a knot in my stomach. What do you mean? Well, he began, Clarissa is going to be single soon. I was, thinking. Would it bother you if? Stop right there. I interrupted, my voice low and firm. What's the issue, Pat? It's clear you won't be with her, and my marriage is falling apart. I assure you, I will respect your family. I rose swiftly, placing my hands firmly on Lawson's desk, meeting his gaze intently. My kids have a father, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is not for discussion, Marion. Got it. Lawson sighed, raising his hands in a gesture of defeat. All right, your way then? But if I assist you in this, we're square, Pat. I want those pictures gone from my server and the hidden ones online removed. Agreed. Listen, Marion. You and Bud Roberts were involved with my wife, even bragged about it, trying to demean me. We are far from square. We won't be for a long time, if at all. I stood, walked to the door of Marion's office, unlocking it. Turning the handle, I glanced back at Marion and said sternly, and those pictures are staying put. Update. Instead of spending the night with Shannon, as I deeply desired, I stayed alone at the farm, pondering the next steps in my divorce. I missed Sunday Mass and by 9 a.m., I was in my department-issued 2010 Ford Expedition, heading south on U.S. Highway 120 towards Cherokee Flats. The journey was around 2 hours, with few signs of life along the way. The road allowed for a swift drive. The Choctaw County Jail, situated at the northern edge of Cherokee Flats, was a modern facility housing the jail, sheriff's offices, and an auxiliary courtroom. In contrast to the smaller Mason County Jail, it boasted a large exercise yard, surrounded by multiple layers of chain-linked fences topped with razor wire, a daunting barrier for anyone contemplating escape. The Choctaw County Jail had a distinct setup from the Mason County Jail, especially regarding the visitation area. In both facilities, visitation was restricted to less risky inmates. However, in Mason County, visitors could meet inmates face-to-face, whereas in Choctaw County, interactions were through a video system, displaying inmates on a screen. The visitors area in Choctaw County was situated far from the jail itself, ensuring a minimum distance of 300 feet between visitors and inmates at all times. Nevertheless, certain privileges could be extended under special circumstances, like if you were a sheriff visiting your spouse in custody and had connections with the overseeing sheriff. Upon my arrival, Sheriff Garrett Mayers, a veteran in his role with 2 decades of experience and notably fit for his age, welcomed me warmly. "How's your new role treating you?" he inquired, showing genuine concern. I mentioned a recent concern, to which he assured me of their discreet and vigilant care for my wife, noting her minimal contact with the outside world. Garrett then explained that while standard visits were conducted via video, legal representatives could meet clients in a secure, private room. He offered to let me use this facility to meet my wife. Gratefully, I followed him to a small, secure room furnished with a table and stools bolted to the floor, a measure against potential misuse by inmates. The room, devoid of any recording devices to preserve legal confidentiality, was where I prepared for the visit. relinquishing my personal items for security reasons. Shortly after, my wife, Clarissa, entered the room, heavily restrained with handcuffs and ankle cuffs linked by a chain, a security measure to prevent any aggressive behavior or escape attempts. The tall, fit African-American female officer escorted Clarissa to the seat across from where I was. Once she sat down, her ankle cuffs were attached to a floor hook, and her handcuffs were linked to the table side, limiting her movements. Clarissa appeared extremely distressed. Her eyes were swollen and red, indicating she had been crying relentlessly. Her hair was unkempt, and she seemed in desperate need of care. She avoided my gaze, struggling to contain her tears. "How are you, Clarissa?" I asked, though it felt like a meaningless question. "How do you think?" She whispered back. "I get it's hard," I said. "You don't understand," she countered, tears breaking through. "Why did this happen, Patrick?" "I didn't cause this, Clarissa. You're here because of the altercation with my deputy." "I'm sorry," she cried out. "I was just scared something had happened to you." "But that's not the case, Clarissa. You're aware of the protocols if something were to happen to an officer. You knew Chris wasn't there to deliver bad news." "I truly believe that, Patrick." "I don't care what your deputy says," she cried, still not meeting my eyes. "No, Clarissa, the truth is clear. We recorded the incident." "How could you know anything? His car was in the driveway. It's just his word against mine." "Clarissa, we now use small cameras on the uniforms, like radios. We captured everything. Chris served you the papers, and you confronted him aggressively. When he tried to keep distance, you hit him. It's all on video." I took out my smartphone, which Garrett had given me permission to use. I found the video and pressed play. Clarissa was reluctant to even glance at my phone, holding on to the belief that there was no way the incident had been recorded. However, the moment she recognized her voice in the video, she went silent, staring at the screen in utter disbelief. After the video ended, Clarissa turned her gaze away, her expression one of guilt. "Patrick, what's going to happen to me now?" "Well," I replied, slipping my phone into my pocket, "it's really up to you. You're facing a serious charge here, an assault charge, to be precise. This could lead to a significant penalty. You might be looking at jail time." "Oh, my God," she murmured. "Patrick, you're going to help me, aren't you?" "I'll help you, Clarissa. But you need to help me too," I said. "How can I help?" "I need you to agree to the divorce. Accept the papers, sign them, and let's make this process as straightforward and easy as possible for everyone involved, especially for Nick and Jake." "Is that why you did all this? To get what you want from the divorce?" she accused, tears filling her eyes again. "No, Clarissa, that's not why you're here. Your actions led to this, not the divorce issue. Remember, it was your behavior that landed you here, not me," I clarified. "How is agreeing to a divorce going to help me?" she inquired, still confused. "I can work on getting your charges reduced or even dropped, but only if you agree to cooperate and make the divorce process smooth." "Do we have an agreement?" I proposed. She looked up, feeling trapped. "Do I even have a choice? It's simple. You can help yourself by cooperating, or not," I said plainly. "But I don't want a divorce, Patrick. I've told you many times. I don't want to break up our family. I want us to stay together," she pleaded. "Do you recall our conversation before we tied the knot? Do you remember what we agreed would be the ultimate deal breaker?" Her tears flowed anew as she reminisced about our distant conversation. "We always agreed that faithlessness would be the one thing we couldn't tolerate. You wouldn't accept it from me, and I wouldn't from you. We thought we could face anything but that. But I was mistaken, Patrick. I believe we can overcome this if we try. I really want to make an effort. I want us to rekindle our love, to feel that magic we once had. I yearn for us to cherish each other anew, to reconnect deeply, Patrick." "Clarissa, what I'm noticing is a lot of I in your words. It seems this situation is centered around you. It's all about your desires and needs. What I haven't heard yet is you expressing regret, Patrick. Apologizing for the turmoil you've caused over these years, for the anguish and embarrassment. That apology hasn't come from you, Clarissa. And now, it wouldn't hold meaning, as it would only serve your wish to escape this predicament. There's no quick fix to this, no simple way out. But I truly am sorry, Patrick. I regret not voicing it sooner. Yet, I see strength in us, and in you especially. I underestimated you, but now I recognize your resilience. I've witnessed your determination, and I believe we can channel that strength into mending our bond," she implored earnestly. "But I can't, Clarissa. I no longer have the will to fight this battle. What you've done has left an indelible mark. When I look at you, I see a past that was snatched away. If we ever tried to reconnect, I'd be plagued with doubts about your thoughts and feelings, wondering if they were with someone else. Questions about my adequacy as a partner, lover, or father would haunt me. I can't live with that uncertainty, Clarissa. I just can't." Clarissa sat in silence, her sobs filling the room. I hoped it signaled a realization of the damage done to me, our bond, and our family, though I was wary it might just be regret for squandered chances. "Please consider trying, Patrick. I'm pleading with you." "I can't do this, Clarissa," I uttered, with tears welling up and a knot forming in my throat. "The hurt runs too deep. I'll never get past the things you and Bud Roberts put me through. I'm aware of my limits, and you pushed me to the brink, endangering my family and my very freedom, Clarissa. There's no mending this. Just sign the papers. I'll help you through this tough spot as much as I can to ease the burden. If there was ever real affection or care from you, do this for me. It's the least you owe me." Clarissa, overwhelmed, wept uncontrollably for minutes. Eventually, she composed herself slightly, dried her tears, and with hands trembling, took the pen I offered and signed the divorce papers, agreeing to the conditions. I committed to giving Clarissa half the farm's equity and equally dividing our savings. I promised to keep her on my insurance until she secured a job with benefits or for up to a year, whichever came first. I also pledged to assist Clarissa in finding a new place that could accommodate visits from our sons, keeping the farm as their main home. I agreed to cover her rent for a year to support her transition, continue paying for her SUV until fully paid off, and cover her cell phone expenses for a year. My lawyer, Danielle Nichols, questioned my generosity, and perhaps rightfully so. After all, Clarissa's mother was now with Martin Belmond, a man of considerable wealth. I was convinced Clarissa would have her mother's support regardless. My aim was to be fair to Clarissa to avoid any claims of unfair treatment. Some might view leveraging her time in detention as harsh. Yet, if Clarissa and Bud had succeeded, I would have faced unimaginable consequences. The risks for a former officer in prison are dire. But I had a card up my sleeve for Clarissa, a release order I managed to get from Judge Hannah Burgeon, allowing her release without bail. It was an extraordinary step, especially since it required a direct request to the judge. Despite Clarissa being held in a different county, our jurisdiction allowed it. The decision might stir controversy, but I was beyond caring. The benefit was Clarissa's happiness. The drawback was the long drive home with her. Sheriff Mayer's team took roughly 45 minutes to complete Clarissa's release process from the Choctaw County Detention Center. Part of this time was dedicated to providing Clarissa with a private shower before her release. Additional time was allocated for the completion of necessary paperwork and the collection of her few personal belongings. I had brought a full set of fresh clothes for her, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we were departing Cherokee Flats, heading towards home. The journey was engulfed in silence for almost an hour before either of us broke it. Eventually, I couldn't bear the quiet any longer. "Are you hungry?" Clarissa continued to gaze out of the passenger window, shaking her head silently. "Maybe we should stop for a drink at least. I don't want to end our marriage, Patrick." "I know I signed the papers, but it wasn't my desire," she confessed. I maintained a firm grip on the steering wheel, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. "Clarissa, we've discussed this already. As far as I am concerned, it's finalized." She was not sobbing, yet tears began to cascade down her cheeks again. "If you think this is a way to punish me, Patrick, it's effective." I reached my limit. Decisively, I pressed the brakes and pulled over, shifting the car into park abruptly. "Punishing you, Clarissa? And what about my pain?" I countered. "Do you really view life with me as punishment, Patrick?" "Clarissa, you're missing the point. It's not about being together. It's about the chaos that could have ensued from your incident with Bud Roberts. But that never happened, Patrick. It fell apart. Perhaps there's a reason it did. Maybe we're meant to stay together. At the very least, we should attempt to move past this." "I just can't," I exclaimed. "Patrick, why not? Why can't we consider moving forward together? Why is ending things the sole solution?" I turned my gaze away from her, repelled by her naivety and the chaos she brought into my life. She seemed unaware of her own manipulative nature, and I felt a deep revulsion towards her, both physically and emotionally. Despite her desperate looks, I averted my eyes, struggling to maintain my composure. The effort to restrain my anger was immense, as I fought the urge to lash out in frustration. But then, thoughts of Shannon brought me tranquility, reminding me of my true purpose and restoring my inner peace. I envisioned Shannon's comforting presence, her strength, and the warmth of her affection, which helped me regain my calm. Faced with Clarissa, I realized I couldn't move past our issues. The betrayal had transformed me fundamentally. Her deceit, along with Bud Roberts' schemes, had forced me to adopt a mindset I never thought possible, leading me down a path of dubious actions to protect myself and what I held dear. I confessed to Clarissa that her actions had changed me irrevocably, pushing me to extreme measures to prevent further damage. Although I resorted to actions against my principles, it was never for personal gain but for the protection of my loved ones and the community. Despite not having literal blood on my hands, the metaphorical dirt was undeniable. I concluded that there was nothing I wouldn't do to protect my family and the people of Mason County, having faced grave dangers for this cause. With that, I resumed driving the SUV, heading towards Red River Falls, reflecting on the transformative journey her betrayal had initiated. Indeed, Clarissa, you're correct. My resilience is ironclad. Enduring life's battles, whether against death or the bleak prospect of imprisonment, will forge such strength. I won't express gratitude for the upheaval of our family, yet, paradoxically, I am thankful for the fortitude it instilled in me. I can affirm that without these trials, I wouldn't have been ready to take on the role of sheriff. Our conversation ended there, and the journey continued in silence with my soon-to-be ex-wife. For Clarissa, it was a journey towards a new beginning, contemplating her future, which was hers alone to shape. One thing was clear, her path forward would not include me as her partner. Upon reaching our house, Clarissa retreated to her room without a word, likely drained after her weekend in detention. The boys returned from their trip with the youth group, bubbling with stories about their adventures. Their presence and stories brought a realization: had they been home, I never would have had Clarissa detained. Fortune favored me in the timing, less so for her. By evening, Clarissa emerged, warmly engaging with the boys, sharing light moments over dinner. Surprisingly, she then gathered us to announce our impending separation. She gently explained to Nick and Jake our marital challenges, stressing her love for them, despite the separation. Clarissa portrayed the separation as her choice, urging the boys not to blame me and keeping the time frame ambiguous, perhaps to ease them into the new family dynamics. She reassured them of stability at home, with the familiar comforts of their animals and surroundings. Despite the separate living arrangements, she promised regular visits, suggesting they assist me and help find her a nearby place for after-school visits. The boys, though saddened, handled the news with a maturity beyond their years, showing a hint of prior intuition. This moment underscored the often underestimated awareness and understanding children possess about their family's dynamics. Within a short time, Clarissa found a lovely apartment in a new townhouse complex inside a gated community. This place had a playground and pool, ideal for the kids to enjoy in the summer, and it was close to their middle school. Chris Hayes didn't need much convincing to drop the legal issues Clarissa faced. I think Chris understood the tough situation we were all in and saw that Clarissa's actions were more about desperation than any true harm intended towards him or the law enforcement team. Marion Lawson cooperated as I expected, and Judge Hannah Burgeon helped dismiss the case. There were no records or reports left behind, so if anyone looked into it, they'd find nothing concrete. I kept Clarissa in the dark about these details, wanting the divorce to proceed smoothly. When I shared this with Shannon, she was incredibly supportive, understanding the mixed feelings I had about ending my marriage with Clarissa. It wasn't about wanting to stay, but dealing with the loss and failure of that relationship. Interestingly, this also marked a time when I could start thinking about a new beginning with Shannon and Bridget, believing that my sons would adapt well to their new stepmother and stepsister. I anticipated challenges but felt optimistic about the joyful times ahead. I also started to hope that Clarissa would find someone who could bring her the joy I couldn't. An unexpected turn came when Shannon's father offered to pay off our home's mortgage as a wedding gift, allowing us to focus on more than just financial obligations. It was an overwhelming gesture, and though I hesitated at first, his firm yet jovial insistence made me accept it, welcoming me warmly into the family. So, one significant phase of my life ended, and a new one is ready to begin. With all key players in place, I look forward to a future that focuses on the positive moments we will create, leaving the past behind and crafting our own history from here on out. My comment: politics and leverage. They got done what needed to be done. Sometimes the ends do justify the means. If everyone else is cheating, you are still playing by the rules, you're going to lose.